is it going? Why is it live? We're not ready yet. Computer, why have you forsaken me? Why do you always go live right before I need to actually go live? Okay, we're good. We're good. We need to change... Oof. Stop it. We need to change this. Thumbnail. Playlists. This is going into follower art critique. Thank you very much. And... this video is not made for kids. Absolutely. I swear like a frickin' sailor. A. Okay, let's dig deep into my files. Hello? Come on. Why is it displaying like this? Web shows? Oh, this is a very strange way of displaying. Okay. Hybrid Miranda. Critiques. Critique live thumbnail. There we go. Okay. This should be a lot better. Hello, everybody. Am I audible? Can you hear me? Is everything snazzy? I'm just setting up. My OBS Studio has this habit of going live before I actually press the live button. I still haven't quite figured out why it does that, but it's all good. We're fine. Oof. Well, apparently there's nobody in here right now, so I'm just gonna start. It says concurrent viewers 0. Fancy. Well, it says I'm live right now. Interesting. Okay, so what I am doing right now is there are a lot of people who sent me stuff over Discord for art critiques, and so I'm just going through it. I know there are a lot more still in the email, but I decided to just do all these as live streams because there's just so much art that people want me to help them with, so we're gonna do it live. This is round 3 of it. Okay, now I see you. I guess, okay, now I see that you guys are in here. Before, like, this number, this is what shows to me when I'm live streaming. Before, this number here said 0 and then 0 and everything was just 0, and I was like, where are my people? But okay, we're good now, we're good. Okay. I have a massive list of art that we just need to go through, so we're gonna go through it. I need to rearrange this though, because what we should be doing, how do I view it as a list? I like how I can 3D model a realistic dragon, but I cannot rearrange my files. I have a seriously unbalanced talent pool. View? List! I did it! Okay. So what we're going to be critiquing is all of this, all the way down to here. These are all the people that we have to critique today. So let's just get to it. I don't know if any of these people are online right now. I told them that I was going to be doing this, but you know what? They can see it later. And I'm going to drop that over here. This is going to be our background. I'm going to lock it. Wherever my lock went. Oh, there it is. Okay. And I'm going to pull out my critique pen. I have a bunch of new pens that I can use, so this is going to be... There's so many I can choose from. So many. Why did it rearrange like this? How fascinating. Okay. I'm looking specifically back. Why are you misbehaving right now? I'm specifically looking for my ballpoint pen brush. Where it is? I don't know. But we'll find it eventually. Like how my mouth has stopped working, my back has stopped working. It's like the universe has decided that today I will not be doing a live stream, but I've fought the universe on multiple things before and it ended up okay for me, so hopefully it's going to let me actually do what I want to do today. What are you? What are you? If I hover over it, will it tell me what it is? Doesn't it say up here? Wow, it's funny that you can name a brush, but it doesn't actually... Okay, hard lines, no. It's funny that you can name a brush, but there's no place to actually view what that brush is called. Beautiful little irony there. Where's my pen? Where's my beautiful ballpoint pen? This is not my bed. Lincoln Stumpy pencil, no. Lincoln inking brush, no. Did it remember where I put things at all? I'm sorry, guys. I'm just desperately trying to find a very specific pen, and I wonder if I accidentally deleted it at one point. That would be unfortunate, and in which case I'm just going to use another pencil. Yeah, I have no idea where my special pen went. Is there a way to search? It would be amazing if there was a way to actually search for your own brushes, but it doesn't look like there's a way to do that. Yeah, my ballpoint pen brush has disappeared. Oh well, we'll just use this one. Whee! What is it like with pressure? Whee! That's good enough, okay. So let's get started. First we're going to be doing black and gold artistry's picture. Awesome sauce. And if you want to know whose is what, like if you're interested in an artist, I put their tag down here where the layers are so you can actually see. Now they said that first of all, this is, your inking is absolutely fantastic. I love this inking. Like, I wouldn't have done these muscles so light. I might have, you know, darkened them up just a little bit, but yeah, your inking is great. One thing I'm noticing pretty quickly in the situation, work with me, baby. In the situation where you have somebody grabbing onto something so tight like this, like if you just look at your own hand, you're going to see that your knuckles popping out. I know you might not want to, I know you're worried about inking things probably a bit too hard, but put those hard lines in there as well, because that's going to really show that your character is gripping hard onto that mic. I believe your question was more about proportions and anatomy. One thing that stands out to me immediately is, let me grab my critique color. Okay, one thing that stands out to me immediately is that if we put in the body here, okay, you can't even see that color. We're going to go to a different color. I was like, ooh, my critique color. Oh my god, it's invisible against this gray. So anatomy here, elbows coming up, wrist, and then hand box. If you look at the length of this over here, and then compare it to the length of this over here, that's even a bit too long. Yeah, compare it to the length of that over there, you're going to notice that this arm is significantly longer than the one on top, and this hand is way, way bigger than this hand. So what I would do is I would take this hand and shrink it down by maybe 20%, maybe a bit more than 20%, and make this forearm a little bit shorter. There's also something a little bit weird going on with your face. I mean, your inking is really nice. This is amazing inking. What brush are you using? This is fantastic. But okay, so your head box is pointing this way. You can see there's one eye over here and one eye over here. The top of your mouth box is pointing this way though. So you're twisting your character's face. The other side of the eyes, why is my eraser so light? The other side of the eyes, from this position, it would be more like this. Like your head should look a little bit more like that, and the other eye would be over here if you're going to maintain the face coming down in that direction. You could alternatively, yeah, because then your mouth is coming in this way too, and it makes more sense that way. So either you need to twist the anatomy of your eyes downwards, or you need to twist your snout upwards. It can't be both though, or else it looks like the guy's face is going like this, and that's not quite right. Other than that though, this is a really nice picture. I wouldn't worry too much about the construction of the body over here. It's pretty solid. What I might do actually is pump the stomach in a little bit more and arc him over even more extremely, so that you have these conflicting angle, not conflicting, you have these angles going against each other. Because if you look at the way a body is positioned, he's coming over this way, you know, screaming at the mic, ah! And then that means that there are going to be folds in the center of his body. I know he's skinny, but I would accentuate the folds and put this leg out even more so that he's really, really pumping down at that microphone. And then maybe arc the neck out. You really want to emphasize and exaggerate this position. But other than that, it's a really good base. I'm being very, fine-edged with my critique because I can tell you're a lot more skilled artist. But that's what I would do. The hair looks excellent. Your detailing is excellent. But yeah, those are where I would go with this drawing, but it's a very good job. And for those of you who want to know, this artist is Black and Gold Artistry. Okay, yeah, now I can see you guys. We're good. We are absolutely fine now. It must have just been a lag of some sort. So, delete those 2 layers. Hello, wake up for me, please. The next person we will be critiquing, some people sent in only 1 picture, some people sent in like a bunch of pictures, so I'm going to try balancing this out. Decomposing Rabbit. Okay, for Decomposing Rabbit, anybody in the viewership, so they have slight gore and some slight like paraphernalia in here, so if you're a little bit sensitive to that, maybe steel yourself. It's just like, somebody's arm's been cut off and there's a knife with some blood, stuff like that, and a girl sitting with some pills on the floor. But if that kind of stuff makes you feel uncomfortable, just look away for a few minutes while I do this critique. But if not, we're good. Let's pop these 3 in. Oh, it's so tiny. It's itty bitty. Why is it so itty bitty? Why are you itty bitty? Let me just increase the size. Oh, wow, all 3 of them posted at once. Okay. No, we're missing one. Oh, they're coming in piece by piece. And this one, we needed bigger. There is somebody, one of my tavern masters in the Discord named Melonite. She made something with a butt or boobs. One of the 2, so we'll get to see boobs later. There's no nipples, so it's fine. But, the female nipple is so controversial. Okay, I'm going to go 1 by 1 here. So throughout all of your pictures, and this is Decomposing Rabbit. That's their name on TikTok. So throughout all of your pictures, using very, very bright coloration. And I find it interesting, the anatomy on these 2 are great. And then this one seems a little bit skinny. Not like skinny isn't a bad thing, but like the proportions are off compared to the other 2. This one looks like it was an adventurous drawing for you to do. It's really nice. Oh, I didn't even notice the eyeballs up there. That's gnarly. Okay, so let me go 1 by 1 though. I'm gonna put my editing thing up here. I'm gonna just use white as my critique pen color because what are you doing? Computer, please, not today. Because you have so much color. So I really like the look of this. How you, like from a distance, this looks nice. It looks almost like old film. It's like a mild chromatic aberration with blurred, with blotchy outlines. But if you zoom in a bit, you're losing some of your detail in here. Like there's a certain amount that to do an effect, and then sometimes you can push it a bit too far. I would have toned this down by maybe 50% or only done it in certain places. Like what if you had used the chromatic aberration effect for the edges and then it got clearer in the middle? Or maybe clear down by the pills, for instance, and then the aberration. For those of you who are wondering, chromatic aberration is when you take a solid color and split it into 2 different colors. I don't know exactly what those 2 colors are meant to be. I think they're you know what it is? If you do a tetrad, like a triadic color wheel, like how your complementaries, which are on the color wheel, they're sitting opposite. The triadic is when you draw an equilateral triangle and pick the 3 colors on the color wheel. I think that's what chromatic aberration does. It takes your color and then it splits the other 2 in other directions from that triad. I think that's what it does. I'm not too sure. If somebody in the comments knows, please drop it. But yeah, that's what this is over here. The outline was the one that had the chromatic aberration filter put on it, and it was split in the different directions. This looks like an entire filter split, like an entire layer displacement split, which means that instead of there being a point that everything moves away from, which would be a perspective split, this is just, it got taken, like the layer got taken and moved as an entire layer. I think that's what happened here. What I would have done though is instead of putting it over the entire layer, because it's kind of making things feel a little bit off, maybe I would have started with the pills and put it, you know, like, so those were the only clear points. You could literally use the chromatic aberration filter as a story point. So start down there, and then it would have, you know, gotten more and more and fuzzy as the further away from the pills it got. Your technique and your drawing and the bright colors, I think it's fantastic. Like, this is a nice piece. I might just adjust your use of filters just to make sure the story and the readability are a little bit better. Okay, I'm gonna jump over to your next one. Okay, I really like this one. It's soft gore. It's like the kind of cute soft gore aesthetic, and it really, really works. You have really good lining. You did the dead eyes look perfectly. And your anatomy is pretty good. I honestly don't have too much to critique about this picture. Maybe I would have swapped these two colors. This is something you did in this picture as well. You put a really, 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 really intense background color, and then your character has less intensity to it. If you keep that consistent, it works. And that's what you've been doing in your pictures. You're keeping it consistent. Like, this is a very, very vibrant kind of Pepto-Bismol pink, and then you have this this lighter pink in the middle along with the pastels. So that'll work. I don't really have much to say about this one. I think it's nice. You definitely have a style and an aesthetic you're going for, and it's working right now. This is my I'm thinking pause. I'm not just like going, "What?" I'm thinking about what to say. Usually when I do a critique video, I can cut it out, but this is live streamed, so. Now, I think this is definitely your strongest piece in here so far, even though it's just a, you know, color block background. It's your strongest piece. Maybe the only thing I can say is the positioning of the arm is a little bit off. I need to choose a different color for this. Yeah, this is her arm, or their arm. I think it's a her. I'm not sure. Coming down like this, and then coming out like that. You might want to tilt the arm coming that way. Because as, you know, if it's coming this way, your arm would look like that. And that's kind of going and breaking it a bit. I might just change the arm positioning down here a tiny bit. No, this is a well rendered and well stylized picture. This is your strongest one. I can't really say anything without changing your style, because your anatomy is pretty on point. Just make sure you keep track of where everything is. I think this would come down a bit further. Instead of ending right over here, it would end more down over here. Because then the shoulder comes down that way. One thing I might have done, because that arm's hurt and this person's sagging, maybe, and I'm going really hard end with this critique now, I would have sagged this arm even more and put a few folds coming down that way. Like, if you had done that, you're emphasizing the fact that that arm is loose and broken off or ripped off. And the folds of fabric you did are really nice. Perhaps instead of having them come that way, I would have had them roll more along that edge. Like, I did it the first time a lot better. I'm screwing up for the second time. Yeah, but no, this is a nice piece. I think I can say more for the other one. Let's jump over to this one and let's clear this layer out. Oh, I forgot Photoshop doesn't let you clear layers. Okay, for this boy, the green background's kind of overtaking the image. If you're going to have a background this green, I would have taken, what is it? More people, okay. If you're going to have a background this green, I would suggest darkening your dark edges even more so there's more contrast, or else your image is going to get, go completely back, yeah, or your image is going to get completely lost. I know that I can see that you're trying to go for a little bit of a glow because of how, you know, poignantly green that sky is, but that glow is making you lose your edges a little bit. So I would have just gone completely dark with some of these and maybe increase the thickness of the outline on this wing before you added, you know, your highlights on top. Yeah, just so this green doesn't overpower your actual character. If you wanted to make this character pop even more, since if you look at the color wheel, the opposite of green is kind of in the pink range, I would have taken this, driven it to an even more kind of pink magenta color, and used it to accent your shadows, especially right next to the edges. You kind of did it, but I literally would just push it a few more percentage points. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, just like in here, just a bit more, drive a tiny bit more pink in here. Because now you can see with that extra pink that we're putting in there, it's really drawing your eye to the character, and it's toning down the green because it's contrasting against it. Yeah, maybe even in here a bit, around the eyes, against the edges, if you want to make him feel a bit more gaunt. Yeah, just tiny bit. I'm going to be doing, I think that's what I'm going to do for the next color theory video, is I'm going to go over how to use the color scales and the color wheels to drive, yeah, because now, see now with the addition of that pink, he stands out and he's dominating the picture instead of the background dominating the picture. I think for my next tutorial, which is actually tomorrow, I'm just going to teach people how to use the color wheel to balance out their image. Like, essentially, I told you how to do color theory, now I'm going to teach you how to actually use it to improve your pictures. So I think that's going to be tomorrow's tutorial. Because literally, I just was able to use color theory to help improve your picture, so it's kind of important. But yeah, your work is pretty strong. It's extremely stylized, and again, I don't want to say anything to, you know, adjust your own personal style. Maybe a little bit better mountains. I don't know if you used reference, but, you know, just adjusting your reference for next time to make sure it looks a bit more like mountains. But that's about it. You're doing pretty well. And that was Decomposing Rabbit on TikTok. TikTok? Yeah, on TikTok. They have a Pinterest too. Are we still streaming? Can you guys still hear me? I don't know. I think my stream's being super duper weird today and I'm a bit worried about it. Okay, our next person is Dremo NYC. I don't know what their official name is, but they have some really nice stuff. So we're gonna take a look at their stuff today. Also, if you guys have questions, you can just drop them down in the comments, like about something I say, for instance. Unless everything's frozen. I have no idea if it's frozen. Okay. Ah! I didn't mean to do that. I meant to make a new layer. Since everything's super dark, I can finally use my bright teal turquoise color. So you have very, very good rendering. That's the first thing I want to say. Like, when you dropped this into the Discord chat, I was extremely impressed with your rendering. Let's see, are we good? We Gucci. Okay. Actually, if it's purple, we want to go more for an orange so that it stands out even more. Yeah, it's way more visible. Okay. So you have really nice rendering and a really, really good sense of light. Just wondering what happened over here. It's like the brush strokes were done over top of this instead of on a different layer. But it's okay if you do everything on the same layer. That's fine. Hello, Vanessa. Yeah, this is a very, very strong piece. I really enjoy this piece. And then what do we have here? This is another, it's very interesting. I love your use of the dark blue. Like, the dark blue in the background is a super cool addition, and it really makes it work. And then, okay, so I'm gonna go piece by piece here. This is your strongest piece in my opinion. It has a great composition, a great sense of tension. A little bit unsure about where the lighting is happening on these hands. What I want you to do is sharpening up on your rendering, because you're doing a little bit, you're kind of over-rendering things and killing the life. And what I mean by this is there's a fine balance that's done in pictures. You can under-render things and they look a little bit sloppy. You can have a really great balance so it looks detailed but still has life and texture in it, or you can over-render things and it starts losing its life. In certain areas in here, like this arm coming down, for instance, it feels a little bit over-rendered, or maybe these fingers. So there's not really any solution for this aside from practice. You're on an extremely good path. This is some of the strongest artwork I'm going to be critiquing today, but I would just suggest fine-tuning your rendering a tiny bit. I adore the fact that you're using this dark blue everywhere instead of black. That's a very nice artistic decision. I would have pushed that black into here a bit more because there is no light source right over here. Like, the light source is these eyes right there. So there's not really any way for that hand to get hit with light So these in here would probably be shaded. Just like that. That kind of makes it disappear a little bit. Maybe a little bit nicer balance could be brought, kind of like that. And the same thing with over here. This hand isn't being hit by that light source anywhere, so this hand would probably be a little bit darker. And if you really wanted, I don't want to disturb your use of this beautiful, you know, this beautiful monotone color palette you have. Maybe ever so slightly grabbing a little bit of yellowish and like a little bit of yellow-orange and ever so gently adding it in here, because what you're doing when you do that is you're taking the complementary, because this is a very, very deep purple. You're taking the complementary, which is a kind of gold-orange color, and you're just popping it in there a tiny bit, just an ever so slight amount, like maybe right in there, which drives more, you know, more attention to those areas. And that means you can get away with putting maybe a little bit of that gold onto here. And that slight amount of contrast will drag people's eyes even more to the focal point. But this is a very, very good start. I'm gonna look at your other pieces before I go crazy. E. Let's look at this one. I've been seeing this character everywhere and I do not know who they are. Okay, same thing. You are obviously learning how to render, so I'm not going to be super duper critical. I would have, the light source is coming from in here. I'm going to need a stiff pen for this. Your light source is right over here, right? It's coming here and it's coming here. It's hitting upon this plane. It's hitting over here and here. It should be hitting on the face. The shading on your face is not quite bright enough for how bright this light source seems to be. Same thing with this, with the pig nose. So find the planes of the face that are being hit by your light sources. That was actually a little bit of a problem in your last one too. So find the planes of the face where your light source is hitting and make sure those have the brightest highlights, and then everything else kind of dies away a bit. I'm overemphasizing it a lot here. I have a 75% opacity brush, but same idea. Like this over here wouldn't have quite as high of a highlight. It would probably be running at a lower opacity along the outer edge like that, but it wouldn't have been quite so bright. And then this over here, this thumb is literally right next to that, so that thumb would be extremely, extremely bright, as with the edge of this finger. You're losing the back edge of your hand a little bit, so I would kind of use your artistic license and just make sure those are in there a tiny bit. But this is a really strong piece, like the rest of your pieces. I'm nitpicking, I'm trying to guide you instead of say, oh, you're so bad, you're so wrong. I mean, I'm not gonna do that to anybody. But yeah, find the planes of your image and then highlight those planes. Like try breaking them down into geometrical, like almost like a really low poly 3D model. There is something online, I forget exactly what it is called, but it shows the planes of the human face, and there's a tool, there's like a 3D model tool, and it will let you rotate the light source around the 3D model of the face so that you can see where your brightest and lowest points of light are going to be. It's extremely useful, and I forget what it's called. And this one, I'd say out of all of these, this one is probably your weakest piece, which isn't a bad thing, you know? I have a bunch of weak pieces. It's mostly because the light source in here, it's very grayed out. Like I could grab this entire piece and really, really push it. I could really push it just by adjusting it. But one thing I want to do first is let's put this into black and white. Okay. If we put it into black and white, you're going to see that your brightest tone is not very bright. Like this is like maybe a 40% gray at the brightest. So you're really lacking contrast. If we, for instance, went image, adjustments, levels, I'm going to really push the brights against the darks. And even then, you don't have really bright tones anywhere. And we could also push the saturation a bit. What I want you to do is not be so scared of your colors and your contrast. Just go after it. Attack it. I don't even know how to say. Attack your brightness and contrast. really, really push yourself to push your different values, because it will probably give you a lot stronger composition. It is kind of scary. I used to draw very, very gray drawings, and I used to not push the brights and the darks very much, but it's something you get used to and something you build up to. But yeah, this is, like, your detail is nice. Like, you, in all the ones that you've shown so far, you have really good detailing. Like, that's a lot of good detail. I would just not be afraid to push your contrast, push your coloring. But you're doing really good. If anybody wants to check out this artist, they are Dremo NYC. Okay, let's move on to the next victim. Ava is asking, what does rendering mean? Rendering means, like, you can have a flat color, which is just line art. Rendering is when you put the shadow and the color into it. It's essentially the coloring part and making it look more realistic and putting shadows in. That's kind of what rendering is. Hello, Kunai! How is you doing? Okay. Ezra. Wait, what? I can place that file. What are you talking about, you silly willy? Parse the file? I can literally open it right here and you're not going to let me drop it? What is up with you? Okay, so apparently it's not going to let me drop this into Photoshop, despite the fact that it's literally just a PNG, so I'm going to open this up over here and give you a visual critique to the best of my ability. Sorry about that. I do not know why Photoshop is having a hissy fit. Oh, but I need to help with the anatomy down there. Curse you, Photoshop! Okay, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to blow this up as big as I can. We're going to print the screen. We're going to lower, then Control V, Control T, increase the size. Haha, even though you want to be a brat, Photoshop, I still come on top. Come out on top. My dramatic stuff isn't working well today. Come on, you. Come on, I know you can do it. There. Cool, so that's the first one. And let me open the second one. Let's maximize this baby. Print the screen. Exit. Control V. Stop being a tantrumous little child, Photoshop. I control you and all your buttons, and you cannot do anything about it. Okay. Just make it a bit bigger, and that should be Gucci. Okay. So, they didn't give me their social media names, but their name is Ezra on Discord. Let's see. I have the same critique immediately. I mean, this is nice, and you have a very good feeling of 3D. I can tell by the cut off legs on the bottom. I would have pushed it a little bit brighter. I know your reference, I'm looking at the reference up here, is pretty dark, but I would not be afraid of color. Like, take this entire thing and brighten her up. Let's do some brightening. Yeah, we could push the saturation a bit. And let's push the levels. I don't want to lighten her up because that would be stupid, but see how I'm just, you could really just push the contrast and make it like a piece that pops a lot more. Okay, so especially looking at this, you have a nice style. It seems like you got your anatomy right. You're doing fine. One thing I would do is just study your anatomy a teeny bit more. I'm looking at this lady's belly, and I'm going to draw over it. Hopefully it won't get too graphic. So you have the bottom down here, right? And the legs will come over here. There's probably going to be a little bit of fat doing, you know, it seems like you got that there. And you got this right. This is curving over, and the legs are coming in this direction. With the belly coming out over here, where is it going? If you want this to look correct, you know, her rib cage is going to be over here. There's going to be her hips coming out. This little tummy fat thing over here actually curves in down this way. And if it's this big, that means that she has extra weight and it's going to be folding over, and you would end up having some shading over here and probably end right about there. So that's the big thing that was popping out to me, is the belly area over here isn't quite accurate, but the rest of the picture is pretty nice. Maybe instead of drawing these lines within the hair, I know this is a stylistic thing, I've seen lots of other people do it, instead of drawing the lines within the hair over here to show what, you know, what is remaining, maybe I would have instead put some openings into the hair. It's curly, so there you actually have the freedom to do this a bit. You know, just put a few openings into the hair and communicate what's actually going on behind, you know. It just started downpouring. Holy crap. I don't think you guys can hear it because my mic isn't that sensitive, but sheesh. Yeah, maybe open up the hair a bit instead of using lines to communicate it. Again, I know it's a stylistic thing. I've seen a bunch of other people do it, but it's not as clean as it could be. Or if you are going to do that, use nice, clean line art to make it seem, you know, a bit more put together. But I love the color palettes you're using. This is, you know, these work nicely together. You got good anatomy. You understand your 3D, the hands look awesome, so it's a good piece. Let me jump over to this boy. Okay, let me just delete this and pop open a new one. I'm just reading comments quickly. Oh, Kuna, it's fine. I started like half an hour or more late anyhow. Okay, so I like this a lot. The only thing I might say is increase your, like, in here, I'm kind of losing his fingers. So if you added a tiny bit more brights and a few more darks in here, his fingers would become a lot more readable, because you are losing certain lines. Maybe darken your outlines a little bit for that. I couldn't be sure, but this looks like it might have been traced. But in general, the piece is strong. I love the way that you highlighted the hair. It's interesting. You have this really nice rendered highlighted hair, and then the rest of the piece is not quite as rendered out, so that's a little bit strange to me. Like, you have these strong brights and this really nice falling of values as it goes down. And then down here, the shading inside is, you know, a soft brush and a teeny bit muddled. So maybe a bit more consistency with your shading, but the colors here work together beautifully. This dark blue with the cream, you know, with the champagne color and the gold, that's an excellent color combination. So yeah, just neaten it up a little bit. That's all I have to say for that one. That's a good one. I like this. I like both of them. Okay, let me clear this out and let's pop a new line. Okay, Gigalots. I forget what Gigalots had. Let's see. Oh, this is the first ever request. Okay, this is the first one ever dropped into the YouTube Critique Discord channel. Okay. There's a bunch of stuff I like about this. It's a complex piece. I like that you attempted a complex piece. And backgrounds are never fun to do. Okay, let me jump into white pen because you have so many colors going on. The first thing I want to comment is the use of the soft shadows in the background. One thing I would have done is shadows at the edge, like at the edge of corners, are never soft. Not really like this unless you have very specific lighting. So all I would have done is used your values instead of your line art to push the fact that there are edges here. I don't quite your light source seems to be coming directly from in front. So you're going to get this wall, because of the way the light's working, this wall over here would be in shadow. So you could have just filled that entire one in. Yeah, use your edges instead of your instead of your line art to define shadows. So yeah, that would have had a dark shadow along it. This one would have started to have a dark shadow, but seeing, yeah, we can start putting darkness on this one. And then this is when you would use your soft brush for the rest of it. Where's my super suit? No, I just need this. Okay, you had the right instinct making that soft shadow though. Like that's done well. And I like the really, okay, I see where your light source is now. Now that I'm looking at this really strong shadow from where your character is sitting. I would have gone in, let's use a soft brush. Maybe a little bit darker. Because the tonality of your character is very similar to the tonality of the background. You could make them pop out a lot more if you just darkened the background a bit and sparingly used your brights. What I mean by that is you have the right light sources. Your light sources are fine. I would have just been a bit more cautious using them and increase the shadows in certain areas. Let's see if I can darken this a bit. Yeah, to really push that light source is coming right from there. Just increase your shadows in certain areas, increase your highlights in others. Like, see the difference? Considering how bright the shadow is, I mean, look at the considering how bright your light source is and how dark this shadow is, you'd think that the light source would be a lot brighter. So this is another situation, and this is honestly just a kind of, you know, more amateur artist thing. People seem to be afraid of making things super bright or super dark. So just increase your highlights, increase your shadows, so you can really, really, really push your light source. I can't really do much to this in a short period of time to show you. I'm just trying to give a little bit more of a idea of maybe what you could do. Yeah, like this over here, increase just like that. And it's tiny, it's still a tiny bit difficult to tell where the light source is. Maybe, you know, there should be some on the thumb coming over here, and there will be a lot brighter highlight coming from this little game thing over here, and darker along the edges. Yeah, it's a strong piece. You have a lot good going on here, but don't be afraid of your highlights and shadows. Attack them with a darkened light. That sounds so cheesy, but it's exactly what you have to do. Just seriously go after them, emphasize them. Especially with a strong light source like this. But no, this is a nice piece. Your colors work. It's a what's it called? There's a word I'm looking for and I've completely lost it. It's not adventurous. Ambitious. It's an ambitious piece with all the detail and all the other pieces you like all the other all these tiny details you have in the background. But like this, for instance, you could really push the light source by casting the shadow from the shelf right over there. See how I'm doing that? And suddenly the light source is a little bit more clear. Like just small things like that. This is something that comes with practice and learning how to just view things. And just keep going at it. Keep practicing, and I'm sure you're going to, you know, I mean, obviously with practice everything improves. But yeah, like just woo. Brightness right there. Yeah, the only thing, especially with the character should be the person of the highest contrast, and that is true, you got them like that. But yeah, just increase, I keep saying it over and over again, I need to stop repeating myself. Just increase your contrast. And don't be afraid of your shadows. Let's see what it looks like before and after. Yeah. Just a very quick demo of what you can do. So that is Gigalots, if you find them on our Discord channel. Okay, Inaya. I don't know how to pronounce this person's name. We're gonna go for it. Ooh, that's super pretty. Okay, let's go one at a time. And I can actually use my proper colors now. This is a very delicate piece. I really, really, that's really pretty. Did you purposefully blur it? Because it's really sharp right over here and it gets a little bit fuzzy at the top. No, this is a very lovely piece. Like, there's so much detail in the hair. That's nice. It seems so soft and gentle. I like that a lot. Maybe on this finger, see how this thumb is sticking out? That's not quite how thumbs work. It'll probably come in like this. And, you know, and bend over a bit more like that. And maybe this finger too, you could gently push it out a bit. And then this, 1, 2, 3, yeah. Hands are hard, man. I'm not going to try critiquing people too hard on the hands. I think you're good enough that you can jump to the next step though. See how this is right up against her skin? What I would have done is popped out that a tiny bit to show that it's overlaying onto her skin, just along the outline, just along the outer edge outline. Just pop it out a tiny bit. Oh, but this is a nice piece. It looks super sweet. It reminds me of an artist called WLOP. I don't know how to pronounce their name, but see if I can find some of their art. Yeah, this artist right here, your work reminds me a lot of, like, their aesthetic. I hope I don't find any butts in here. Yeah, you have a very similar aesthetic to WLOP. I really don't know how to pronounce their name. Wallop? Something like that? I hope we don't flash nudity on the screen by accident. Yeah, but very soft, very intricate. It's nice. That's a new one. I'm just looking at their art right now. I've been following them for a while. They have a fantastic way of rendering. Okay, anyhow. So that's what, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, and this is really nice. Okay, I'm gonna jump over to your next one. Oop, there's a hand left over. Okay. For this one right here, it's really cute. You have really consistent marker work. Like, I use markers, and it's so hard to get things to be like a consistent shade, but you've done that really nicely, and it looks nice. There's just one comment I have for this particular picture, and it has to do with her proportions. So we have her shoulders over here, right? And that means her rib cage would be coming down like this. Her butt is all the way down here, which means that her figure looks like that. And that's really kind of long. What I might have done is, you know, her figure's like this, and then her hips would probably have been more like over in this direction. And so then her knees would have come up right in front of her. Instead of under her boobs like this, they would have come up towards her chest. So you could have done it more like, you know, more like that, and then put your boots in there, and then your other leg, you know, with some foreshortening would have come down like that. But this body is extremely long. So a little bit more focus on, like, planning out the anatomy first, because I know what you're going for, and it reads. It's just, she looks like Long Cat. I like the attitude. I like the little red on her nose. It's a cute piece, and that's a lot of, oh Jesus, that's a lot of detail in the shoes. I didn't even catch that because it was dark. Yeah, so kind of like in your first picture, a minor more focus on anatomy. Maybe do some like nude figure drawings, or I don't know if you're of age yet. Lineofaction.com has customizable figures, and just practice sketching them a tiny bit so you get a better feel for anatomy. Okay, this one was ambitious too. Let me tell people why I think this is ambitious. This head angle is a pain in the ass. You got this over here. Yeah. That's nice. You got it planned out really well. Not sure what's going on with this ram's head. It's a little bit muddled, but this is a cute piece. And the hands look nice too. Yeah, the arm is doing something interesting. The arm is coming down like this in perspective, and then I would have not pushed that part outwards. What I would have done is just gone like that. Yeah, it seems a bit long. That one arm seems a bit long. This is a difficult perspective to do. So yeah, next time maybe use a bit of reference. But it's a nice piece. You're really going somewhere, and your inking is done pretty well. So yeah, you have a nice few bodies of work. Just do some anatomy studies first. Get a little bit better at drawing from sight. But other than that, you're good. You're doing pretty well. And really, your marker laydown was done excellently. That was very consistent color. And that is Inaya, which is Inaaya. Okay, who's next? We have so many. I'm trying to go through these really quickly because we have a ton of them to go through. Yeah, Kunai, I have yours. It's just they're in alphabetical order. Yours is in 2 people. Like 2 more people and then you. Oh, we got a figure study. I like this one a lot. This looks like, vaporwave aesthetic. Okay, this is, I don't know their social media name, but this is Infamous. That's their name on our Discord channel. It is definitely readable. You know exactly what it is. So you have really good readability, and the warmth and the texture that you use to give it that kind of old-fashioned look is really nice. All I would do is just push your darks and lights a bit. I'm quite sure this was done from a reference. You see your dark over here? See how you used a soft brush to shade? Do not fear your hard brushes. Just increase the amount of shadow a tiny bit for readability. Down this way too. Yeah. It looks like you mostly used a soft brush to render this, like an airbrush, and everybody does that in the beginning. I did it too. Like, if you look at my old DeviantArt, it's all soft brush rendering. But don't be afraid of using slightly harder brushes to render. Don't be afraid of hard edges. It comes with practice, it really does. But the harder your edges are, the more defined something is. So you can really define certain things better when you use harder edges. But this is a nice piece. Your shading and rendering is doing really well. Maybe push your darkers push your darks a tiny bit darker, but no, this is a nice piece. I see one thing that you did on this was that this looks like a clipping mask because this is cutting off right at the top edge. So see these little green bits? Afterwards, make a layer on top of it and just extend the green bits a tiny bit to make it look like it's wrapping onto the actual figure instead of being like painted on. And I like the censorship down there. But yeah, just a little bit, yeah, a little bit here, a little bit there, just to make sure like the figure isn't a clipping mask or flat like that. But this is a nice piece. This is a really, really nice piece. Just minor touches to improve it. Good job. And that was by Infamous. Okay, Ismi Shadow Leap is the next person we're going to be working with. There's one. Let's increase the size on this one. Bow. And 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. I'm gonna go in order here. I like the way you lined it. These eyes look like the crazy anime eyes. That's fun. Aw, thanks for your jacket. I'm not going to give it back. That's cute. Okay, this is mostly flat shading, so there's not much I can say about the shading. I do want to say something about the anatomy. Do I have the right brush? Yeah, I still have my hard round brush. I don't quite know what's going on with the anatomy. It looks like this shoulder is over here. He's coming this way, and the other shoulder's here, and the chest is puffed out like that, and his neck is coming upwards. Like, that's the only way I can read that. In that situation, you would want to have a lot of folds coming down this way, because you're kind of going like this. You can kind of see it in my shirt. My shirt's bunching up when I do that. And so yeah, this area over here, you're right to make the hood kind of fall over like that, so that's fine. But over here you would want some folds coming, especially with the arm coming down so hard. And then you would want to arc out this even more, because the way it looks right now, it's really flat. Oh, I didn't mean to delete it. Darn it. I didn't mean to make a group either. There we go. Yeah, the way it looks right now, it's really flat. You would want to, especially if this is forward in perspective, you want to take this this fluffy stuff and curve it even more like that to show that his body is actually arcing really, really hard, or else it looks like he has, you know, broken shoulders. The proportions and the anatomy doesn't look right. So that's basically all you have to do to fix that particular picture, is make sure you know where his shoulders are going, like that. This coming down like that just straight up isn't right. Arc this. Yeah, this will come out this way, this will come out this way. Yeah, and push that downwards a bit, but just keep track of your shoulders. Keep track of your shoulders and the way your body is arcing. But this is a cute picture. Even though you're putting like an almost fuchsia against a bright vermilionish red, it works. I don't know how you managed to make it work, but it actually works. Let's look at your other one. This one's really sweet. I don't know what that is down there. Is that like a pog from Star Wars with the... No, it's not. The way the little mouth goes and the tiny nose, it reminds me of one of the, like, the pogs from Star Wars. Okay. You have something interesting going on here color-wise. You have this, what looks to be like a vermilion or a very dark orange, or dark intense orange. And then you really, really, really bright blue. And you mix that in. You mix these two colors together on the edge, which softens it. Because if you had this blue directly against the edge, it would be a vibrating boundary. I've talked about vibrating boundaries before, but see how these two are kind of arguing and they don't look good together? You managed to blur it so that they don't argue quite as much, which is a good step to make. Since you included that much of that color in here though, what I would also do is include it in the hair a bit more. Because you're treating it as a light source at that point, or, you know, definitely an environmental light, so make sure to mix it in equally with other ones. You're getting a little bit of trouble doing readability in here, so I would have not been afraid to take like this dark hue, for instance, and push it up even more to define your planes a bit nicer. Just so it's a bit more readable. You're missing an eyeball over there. But yeah, just a little bit more definition to make it a tiny bit more readable. This is a more realistic picture, which is nice. It's actually really nice. Yeah, you could push the chin, like the bottom of the jaw down a tiny bit. This is really nice though. Actually, there's something very soft about this that I like a lot. It's well done. Since there's such a bright light source on this character's face, you would want to reflect that over to this character's face too. You seem to have that as your highlight color, so let's pick that up and brighten it a little bit. But yeah, you could have put a bit of highlight over here, for instance, or on top of the eyeball. This is a little bit hard to do. I should not be doing it with my with that particular brush. Yeah, I might have put the highlight, since you have a highlight right over here, make sure to reflect your highlights onto the rest of your character. I'm gonna smudge that in. I'm not gonna take the time to smudge it in right now, but what is that brush? Looks like something from Kid Pics. Yeah. Yeah, just take the time to like smudge it in a bit, make the light source a little bit more consistent. But this is an adventurous piece. It's very daring considering how intense the background is, but you're making it work pretty well. And I like that you're experimenting and willing to take risks, because that's scary for a lot of, you know, a lot of artists, even me, like even professional artists. Risks are scary if you know you're good at one particular style. Yeah, this is a cute piece. I like it a lot. And finally, we got this one. I might not have used such an intense blue because it's actually hurting my eyes. Like, if we zoom away from this, that super duper intense blue is taking a lot more visual attention away, visual attention, than your actual characters in the middle. I like your use of the what is it called? Gray tone? There's a specific texture and I forget what it's called. I feel kind of dumb right now. But I like your use of that kind of newspaper texture. It works well. Having these solid colors against those colors. I might have darkened up certain areas a bit more since this is all a very similar shade of gray and it's all, you know, it's white and a similar shade of gray. I don't know what you want to do with that background, but it is really detracting from the actual characters. Your line works good. It's a cute piece. Your use of the texture is excellent. Yeah, just figure out something to do with that background. It's a little bit too vibrant. So that was Ismay's Shadow Leap. Okay, how many? I'll show you where we are in the list. We are over here. And after Kunai Girl, well, including Kunai Girl, we have these people to go through. So we're actually moving through at a decent pace. Here we go. Holy color, Batman. I didn't mean to delete it. I meant to make a new layer. Okay, so I'm gonna be super duper rough and mean because this is one of my closest friends. I'm going to be absolutely cruel. Okay. I really like the little thing down there. That's such a good detail. I didn't even notice that. That's a great detail. No, that's nice. That's stylistic that you managed to place it time-wise immediately just with your aesthetic and by using the record 2020. Like, some people don't know how to handle aesthetic, but this aesthetic is very, very well handled. Like, with the... Did you, like, literally look at an old-fashioned recording just to make sure you knew what it looks like? Because that's really snazzy. Your axolotl character! I forgot about her! Oh my gosh! Hi, cutie. Okay. There's like 3 humans in this giant morass of robots. Okay. Well, as per usual, your consistency and stylization and line art is very, very well done. Like, you're super duper clean about how you do things. One thing that's throwing me off slightly is that your color intensity in here is all pastels. Like, outside of Pen's little rainbow thing over here, I don't know what the name of this character is. Like, that's Rainbow 2, but it's nowhere near as intense as Pen's, Pen's wristband. Outside of those, and maybe the shoes down here, the most intense colors, like the most saturated colors, are actually the palm tree overlay in the background, which is detracting from the character up here a bit. Because you have, this cute character with the dark line art and everything, but then the super duper intense color, especially this pink over here, it's kind of arguing and detracting from your character a bit. So I might reposition it or tone it down a bit so that your character's silhouette is more open and visible. It's not as much of a problem for these guys, because this is enough of a pastel with a dark hard outline, like a warmer pink against a cooler pink, and then you have the slate blue and then the dark black. So these guys stand out just enough. I might even have not lightened. If you had darkened this, actually, like made this in between those 2 tones, your character here would have popped out even more. You positioned your characters in a way that it's actually, even though there's so many of them and so many details, that there's a way to be able to see all of them individually, which is nice, because usually when people stuff this many characters together, it can be difficult to discern them, but you manage to position them in a way where they're all discernible, because there's either differences in color, differences in shape, or differences in, you know, design language in general. So this is actually super well done. Oh, they're all so cute. Gosh darn it, Konai. He's like, yeah, I'm the human. I like that you put this block of blue in here. It's a good visual like, it's a nice visual pause. If you had all of them and no block of stripy blue in here, then it would have been way too busy, but you managed to balance it out well. Like, even though it's a crazy busy composition, it has a good amount of balance to make it not too bad. And of course you're working with beautiful complementaries. You have your blue, it's essentially a giant morass of pastel primaries at this point, because you have your yellows, you have a lot of pinks, and then you have your blue tones and your purple tones. So your colors work together despite the fact that there's so many of them. Yeah, so maybe just make sure that your characters stand off from the background a bit more. Like, it's really only up here and maybe over here with that particular palm tree that's bugging me. But other than that, it's super nice. I've seen your art. Obviously, we've been friends for years now. This is one of the more time-consuming ones, it looks like. No, it's good. It's good. It's super duper cute. This is a good one. Like, I can't tell you how to fine-tune it much anymore since you've practiced your style for so long at this point that it's extremely recognizable. Yeah, it's cute though. This is well done. I'm looking at your comments. Okay. Okay, but yeah, that's what I would say. Oh, one other thing that I just noticed. He seems a teeny bit faded. I know his entire color palette is more muted and toned down. Like, because it's grayer. Maybe if you had, like, see how thick the lines are on this dude's face over here? And see how Pen has some, it looks like you resized that or something. Yeah. Just maybe thicken his lines, especially along the outer edges over here. They're really fine compared to your other characters' lines. And sharpen up Pen's lines in here. But yeah, small fine tunes. This is still a really nice piece. And for everybody who wants to find their name, I mean, literally, she put her name down here. See? Read it! And find her. She has adorable art and a bunch of robots and lots of storylines. She does cute stuff. Okay. Who's next? Melonite! Ah, this is the one that has boobies but no nipples, so we can't get flagged for it. Is it Ava or Ava? Do you have any face tutorials? I have not made a face tutorial yet. I need to. I'm trying to focus on the basics, like building from the very bottom, and then we're going to move up into more advanced lessons. I'll add it and make sure it's sooner, because lots of people have been asking about the face. But yeah, I can do a face tutorial eventually. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe instead of Art Talk Thursday this week, we can just do a face tutorial, so it can be 2 tutorials in a week. Tutorial Thursday instead of Tutorial Tuesday, because I know tomorrow I want to go over markers. Ivy Plays is saying, I want art critiques, but nervous. Don't be nervous. I don't say anything mean to anybody, or try not to. Maybe I do. Maybe I've been secretly insulting people for a long time and I just don't know it. That's gonna give me anxiety tonight when I go to sleep. Okay, so this is Melonite. I have seen Melonite in the Discord channel for a while, and she's been gradually improving, like on a daily basis, which is super nice. I remember seeing her work on this piece, and she submitted it like a few weeks ago, but I'm still going to do a critique on it. My big first thing is the positioning. Like, this area up... Am I drawing with a marker that's actually... Oh, I'm smudging. Oops. Okay. Yeah. There's a small amount of space up here, and then there's a huge, large amount of space over here. What I would have done is I would have taken her figure and just moved it down and into the center a bit more. What's it called? Framing? I think that's what it's called when you frame your character. Framed for murder! Not like, the placement, the physical placement on the canvas is important. So yeah, just scooch her down a little bit. I know this is going to be a little bit more of an advanced one, but see right over here how your scales are all pointing in one direction? Next time, what I want you to do is I want you to take a chunk of scales and keep it pointing in that direction. Take another chunk of scales, and I know Procreate can bend things. There's something like when you open Procreate and you go to transform and you press the little arrow thing, there's going to be the menu that pops up on the bottom. There's going to be one over here called Warp, and it has like an image that looks kind of like that. If you take that, you can take a normal square image like this, and you can curve it like this. And so next time what I want you to do is take your texture like this, and then start curving it over and over again, like just copy paste and curve it more and more, so that the scales, instead of all going downwards like this, they'll start curving to the shape of your character, which will give it a lot more realism. What else can I do to make you feel better and improve your art? We've talked about this in the Discord channel. I'm just going to reiterate it. Don't be afraid to push your contrast. Right now, her skin tone is ever so slightly lighter than her hair tone, right? What I would have done is I would have taken this skin tone back here and I would have darkened it so that her body stands out in front of it even more, because you're not going to get the highlights back there as much because her body is sitting in front of that particular hair. You're not going to get highlight on every single strand of hair, especially right behind the head. That would have been darker. See, immediately just adding these shadows here, we are creating an increased sense of depth in your drawing. Yeah, there probably wouldn't be too many highlights over there either. So yeah, do that to increase the sense of depth. Yeah, and then you got it right up here. We could even just go, wow, that's too bright. Even go like whoop, 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 like really, really push the highlights along here and along the outer hair, but then just tone it down in other places. So if you darken the pink around the edges like this, then that will give you the ability to add more shadows into her body. Like even push this even darker. Seriously, do not be afraid of the darkness. Okay, but just don't be afraid to push it really, really dark around certain areas. Like right, especially where it's falling directly behind her head, because that is not a place that's going to have too many highlights. So yeah, I would have done that. Put a little shadow along her face where it's falling over her face, because you know when you put something over, there's a lack of light right under it. And so now that you have a higher amount of contrast on her body, this will allow... Was that purple before? I think I'm going crazy. I thought this was pink. I'm having a hard time today. Yeah, but now this allows you to drive higher amounts of contrast on her body itself, since now that this is so dark, it's going to allow her body to stand out, which means you can... That is not the color I was expecting. Let's take the shadow color and let's drop it a bit. Drop it. Yeah. That means that you now have the excuse to do a lot darker shadows. The shadow underneath the neck is really extreme. And yeah, along the edges of the face, in here, there's going to be one right over there. There's going to be one from the hair. Maybe one from the cheek. But yeah, if you keep the contrast higher, it will, like, between the background and the foreground, even if the background is literally still part of her body, it'll give you the ability to increase the rendering. I don't know exactly what to call it. The rendering flexibility, I guess, on the rest of the body. I see that your shadows are super duper soft. Do not be afraid of harder shadows, of darker shadows. Like, dark shadows are awesome because it shows you contrast. Oh, by the way, a trick for making metal. Let me just do a quick little rendering thing right here. I know this is supposed to be metal. If you want to do metal, take your medium tone, drop it, especially for gold, you want to warm it up a little bit, and there's going to be a very harsh line and reflective light right over there though. Don't push it all the way to the edge. It's not what you want to do. Just push it almost all the way to the edge, and then it'll get lighter and lighter as it goes towards the center. That is not, your highlight actually will not be running all the way along the edge right over here. There's going to be another shadow running over there, and then you're going to have your brightest bright running up along the edge there. That makes it feel a lot more metallic. And then for this area over here, the rebound light hitting the side, you actually want to mix that with your background. So maybe it'll be a bit greenish. We also want to push this darker. Like this, there's going to be an even darker bit of a light. Yeah, it's going to be even darker coming along the edge. Probably a bit more red. Yeah, and then we can put our super bright highlight right there. But yeah, that's a lot better way to make metal than this super duper soft, super duper soft shading coming along the edge. So that's how I would approach metal to make it seem more metallic. Just don't make sure that there's the highest point of contrast that is in here. What you did very well, you have a great color palette going on. You have the purple and the yellow, which are complementaries, and then you have your green eyes against the pink, which are almost complementaries. So your color palette in here works pretty well. It's nicely done. But yeah, those things. Do not be afraid to drive things into high contrast. And this one is really nice. I saw that you finished... Stop it! I saw that you finished this one recently. You did a bunch of good stuff here. First of all, nice job on the background. That's a lot more detail than I would put effort into because I'm lazy. The sense of green might be a bit overwhelming. Maybe next time tone down this green a teeny bit. And if you're going to have that much green, that's going to put a highlight on her as well. Your highlight is very generally a white light coming down from the top, like kind of top forward, like how you're looking at me right now. But this green is so intense that there should be some of it in the hair. There should be some of it on her clothing. Some of it running along the sides of her arms, although it would be brighter than that. Yeah, so just incorporate that glow into the actual character herself, because it's a very intense color, which means that it would be not only around her, but also in the environment around her, reflecting upon her. And again, do not be afraid of the darkness, my child. You must shade more. Put your shadows in. Do not be afraid of your shadows. And then it would get lighter as it came up. But if you put darker shadows, that means that your highlights will also be brighter. Yeah, that's a very dark shadow, but yeah. You see what I'm getting at? Do not be afraid of your shadows. They will help your picture stand out even more than it was before. See, that has more readability from a distance now. With those darker things. I know I'm using a... This shade is probably a bit too dark. There's also be a shadow coming down below her nose. And the darker your shadows, the more your highlights stand out as well. So yeah, but this is a cool piece, and using the red against the like the red and the green is a nice poppy contrast. So this is a well done one. You've gotten better. Like this is a lot better than the mermaid was. So you're improving. Okay, who is next? Rep Sugar. Oh, this one! I like this one! It's the grumpy alcoholic cat. Okay. So this person is Rep Sugar? I think they said just call them Sugar. I don't know. Feels a bit weird calling somebody Sugar actively. Well, first of all, your rendering style is extremely unique and very attractive. And you're doing something really good here. You're using a yellow tone as your highlight and a blue tone as your shadow, which means those are pretty close to being complementaries and they work extremely well together. One thing I might have done is I'm looking at the shadow where you placed it. You have a very bright highlight coming over here. instead of using gray for your shadow, I would have just picked up this color again and put that as your shadow color. And then it would have been over here too and coming to the foot. Kind of like that. And then maybe it would have been over here as well. Actually, that's pushing it a little bit too far. Yeah, it would come kind of like that as well. It's making it a little bit difficult to read. But if you do that, then this highlight pops out a lot more than the other one did, than it did before. This is really, honestly, a really cool way to render. I like this. It's grungy and creepy, and it just works really well. It's strangely soft. I don't know if it's because you sent me a lower res file. I would see how you put this giant block of blue over here. I wouldn't be afraid, like, don't be afraid to put that a little bit more intensely in certain areas. Like over here, considering your light source, it would have come across the top of the cat's ear. Over here too. Maybe a little bit into the crook of the eye, along the top of the nose. Yeah, just don't be afraid to block in your highlights a bit more. This is honestly a really, really, really interesting way of rendering. I've been critiquing for a while now, and I haven't seen this yet. It's really, really, really neat. Yeah, there we go. I'm just trying to find a way to find your highlight a bit more, like the light source a bit more, because it was arguing in certain places. But yeah, this is a really, 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 really cool way to render. I really, really like this. Yeah, see how I'm just pushing the pushing certain areas a bit more to really drive the light source more? That's all you gotta do, and then you're gonna be golden. This is a really, really cool piece. You have a really, really cool rendering style that I honestly have not seen before. Like, this is very unique, and in a good way. I know some people were like, oh, it's so unique, darling. I mean, it's unique in a good way. This is really cool. Yeah, but just push your... It's pouring outside again. We were supposed to get that giant winter storm and it just decided to turn into rain, which makes me a bit sad. But yeah, push your shadows a bit. Don't be afraid to wrap them around a bit more so you can really push your highlights. And that's all I'd say. This is a really interesting piece and I like it a lot. Yeah, that's so cool. It's such a cool style. It's really creepy. I love it. Okay, we have Sea Dove here. 1, 2. Invalid JPEG marker. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Apparently there's an invalid JPEG marker. Okay. So the first thing I would ask is next time you want a critique, can you please send me the original pieces? Because this is kind of hard to see. Like, I'm gonna have to zoom in and adjust this. I have a lot of people to go through. Like, if the computer doesn't read the file, that's one thing. Like, I'm going to fix that. But if you send me something like a distant shot of a screen of another computer, that makes it a little bit harder for me to get to it. So next time, just please send me the originals. Yeah, especially this one. That's like, it's at an angle, it's small, the contrast, there's a highlight running against it. Yeah, just whenever you send in something for critique, just make sure it's readable to the artist who's actually trying to critique it. Same thing if you send a sketch to somebody, make sure it's a nice photograph with high contrast and good detail and clarity. Okay. I mean, these are nice head poses. I would, do you want me to just critique these 5? Okay. I'm kind of unsure of what you want me to critique. Your line art is good. It's a nice soft anime style. It's a good expression study. And your proportions are nice. What I might do is be a bit more adventurous with your head positioning, because even down here, it's the same ones over and over and over again. So if I were you, if you want to, you know, really go out and expand and extend your, you know, your experimentation, and where did I put the pen? I might have, instead of, you know, doing the same one over and over and over again, maybe in this one, position it so she's looking downwards, like upward, you know, down up at you, like that. That's not even a good drawing of this. You know, with the shoulders more like this. Or, you know, like from an upward position. I don't even know how to draw an anime face from underneath. I never draw anime. Yeah, but like... yeah. Maybe experiment a little bit more with, yeah, with the different head positionings that you're working with. You have a nice clean art style though, and it's very consistent, which is hard. People look at consistent art styles and they're like, oh wow, it must be easy drawing the same thing over and over again. It's not, trust me. Like, I can render super duper well, but it's very difficult for me to draw the same thing over and over again, especially when it comes to characters. Like, if you look at my webtoon, there's a massive amount of visual disparity between the same character over and over again. It's really bad. Okie dokes. So this one, you have really good lining. This is a nice strong art style. I like all the details you put into the hair here and the directional hatching. That's nice. Your expressions are nice. In this eye in particular over here, I might have added a bit more cleanliness, and it's a bit interesting the fact that you have very, very dark shading right over here, like in the eyebrow and in the hair back there, but then in the mouth itself, which is one of the darker areas of the face, there's not that much darkness. So maybe add a teeny bit more shading in there to show the depth of the mouth, because that wasn't reading quite as well as it could. And I can't really see what's going on up there because you left that up there. No, you have a pretty consistent, clean style, and just keep going at it. You're doing pretty well. I'm going to see if I can get that last picture. Is it even going to read? Yeah, it's reading. I guess we're going to have to do the copy-paste thing. Print screen! Okay. Control-V. Control-T. Let's do this, baby. I actually remember specifically what this person was asking for on this picture. They're saying they didn't know why it felt weird upside down. So we're going to try figuring out what looks off about it. She said that she didn't like the upper part of the head. I know this might seem kind of dumb and obvious, but... Nope, nope, stop it. Stop it. Control. What I'm gonna do is turn it over. Honestly, I don't think you're dealing with anything too... Oh, wait, there's a problem. That might be it. Look at the hair split. Let me get rid of that layer and make a new one. Yeah, look at the way the hair is splitting. It's really coming strong. Like, if the hair split over there, maybe it would be coming out more like that. Especially since this character is lying down. She's upside down. Like, if she was hanging upside down, then, you know, her hair would be hanging that way. But it looks like you're looking at her from on top. So her hair would probably be lying a little bit more flat to her face and curving around instead of, you know, instead of popping upwards like that. This one makes a bit more sense the way it's coming over. That one makes a bit more sense. It's good that you have these bright green eyes against a slightly pink-red toned background. It means that you have, that's definitely the highest point of contrast, especially because it's, you know, color contrast. Having the super duper bright eye highlights and then extremely soft lighting, I might have, you know, I might have actually added a little bit more contrast in the lighting for this. Using purple as the shadows is super duper nice. You did that nicely. Yeah, so just be a bit more adventurous with your shadows. And since she's lying down, I would have laid it sideways. But the face itself looks fine. There's nothing really wrong with it. Let's see what happens when I turn it upside down again. Yeah, I think yeah, just lay the hair differently and I think you're going to be fine. It doesn't, honestly, even up, you know, right side up, it looked okay. It could also be because you added such a dark blush and then the forehead is really pale. So you have your highest concentration of color over here, which still works because it's the red against the green and it drives the focal point. But maybe if you put a little bit more red and detail up here to even it out, it might be a bit better. So that was Sea Dove. I believe we only have like 2 left. How many do we have? The Ferret, Lesbian, Presty, and then Worm Prince. Okay, we have 3 left. I have seen this one before. This is She-Ra and... or... what are the names of these characters? I keep forgetting. I'm bad at character names because I don't watch things very often. Okay, your consistency is great. I really like the blue. The blue works with both these maroon and red tones and with the gold and white tones, so that's an excellent choice of background color to display both of them. It is a little bit weird, the fact that you didn't add something for your character to sit on, because she's just floating in the air. So I might have just, literally all you really had to do was like take a little bit of a darker blue. Ah, come on, buddy. Work for me. Work with me, computer! Yeah, I would have just like, I'm not gonna make this a super complex thing just because I don't want to have people sitting and watching the critique for too long. But, yeah. Literally, if you just added something like this in. And where's my fill tool? Bam, it makes a teeny bit more sense. This is obviously up to your artistic decision, but having her float in the middle of the air without anything to support her bum, considering she's definitely sitting down, is a little bit disconcerting. You could even keep it in the background like this and have the rest of the characters come over so that it doesn't seem too much. Like, we could even lighten this up. We don't even need to use that color. We could just go like, boop, like that. Even that's actually nicer, but even that gives your character a platform to sit on and it works better. My only other big thing that I'm seeing in this, let me grab my black pen, is in your character's shoulder. Katra. Okay. In your character's shoulder here, the way you have this immediately circling straight back up like that, that means that it would look like that from the side. Like, I don't know if other people can see this, but the way that this is poking up just like that means that the hole in the sleeve is only like this big, despite the fact that her arm is this big. So what you want to do next time is curve it around the anatomy more. Come on, work with me. Come on, buddy. Yeah, because her arm's coming like this. I'm gonna draw the lines of the arm. Yeah, it's coming like that. It's coming over the top, rounding out, coming over the bottom, and then you have the bottom edge. So what you want to do, I'm gonna have to grab white for this. What you want to do is you want to have your anatomy follow that curve, and then imagine where the curve is gonna come in this way too, which means that this is going to be colored in skin tone instead. Like that. See what I mean? It rounds it out a lot more nicely and it makes it seem a bit more physically accurate. Let's just put that in right there. just widening the hole for her arm to come out. In fact, even looking at it now, we still have it too small. It needs to be bigger. It needs to be more like all the way out front over here. Need to give her arm room to breathe. And probably would stop up here, and then that would come in a little bit like that. Yeah. This is a really cute picture, though. You did a good job. I thought Photoshop froze for me for a moment. I might have extended your canvas a bit enough that the bottom foot wasn't cut off. Is it like that in the original one? Yeah, it's like that in the original too. Just extend your canvas a little bit so your characters have room to breathe and you can actually fit in your whole character. Because it's kind of sad that you have, you know, this really nice character over here and then, you know, her foot's cut off. Also, the visual balance. There's this black tail over here coming really close to the edge of the picture, and then over here there's a giant open white gap of space. So you could have either nudged the blue a little bit closer, like cut the canvas closer this way. I don't know if it's even showing that correctly on the screen. Hey buddy, can you please communicate with me? Thank you. I would have cut it more so that the white goes over here and what was her name? She-Ra? Yeah, and She-Ra, you know, She-Ra is also sticking out into the white. So either you could have done that, or you could have extended the blue that way so that Catra isn't, you know, sitting so close to the edge. Because then it makes it seem a teeny bit unbalanced. Yeah, and then you would just crop it. Hello? Hello? Thank you. Yeah. So just reframing it a teeny bit so it makes a tiny bit more sense is what I'm talking about. Maybe a bit more like that. In fact, doing this is crowding them too much, so instead you might have just wanted to, come on buddy, work with me, there we go. Might have just wanted to extend the canvas out on both edges so both of them have more room to breathe, if that makes sense. A bit more like that. Which means then you can keep the blue extended where it was before. What am I? Oh, I'm pressing Shift instead of Alt. It's not my program having a hissy fit, it's my fingers. Yeah. I'm muddling up the edges so much. It's like, I'm taking your beautiful picture and I'm absolutely destroying it. No apologies. Yeah. Just giving it a teeny bit more room to breathe, though. That's all I'm talking about. Slight reframing so your characters look a little bit better in the space. But it's a really, really pretty picture, and I really, really like it. So that was That Ferret Lesbian. They are on Discord. The Empress T is the next person, and then we have Worm Prince as the last one. Okay, so the Empress T, I think they told me just to call them T. These are really nice. Almost nipples! Okay. I'm gonna do this one first. So, as per usual, with almost everybody else, this is a gorgeous picture. I just want you to push your shadows and highlights. That's all I want you to do. Do not be afraid of your shadows and highlights. Another thing that kind of stood out to me over here was that the hair is coming this way, and it's almost meeting with the shadow under the chin. So I honestly thought when I looked at this the first time that she had some sort of weird beard or a bag under her chin. What I might do is either you want to run a highlight along the top edge like that to make sure people know that it's not literally just a giant bag. It's coming off in a slightly awkward way. I might have, no, that's not the right color. I might have extended this jaw up like that a bit to make sure it was a smoother transition over to the rest of the face. Yeah, just like that. And then hatched a little bit more so that it's visible that this is a shadow. Because you have really thick, deep shadows like right over here, but you don't have any of those other thick, deep shadows on the rest of her character. So having one suddenly, out of nowhere, right under her chin is a tiny bit off-putting, so you need to kind of shade it in a bit so people know what it is. It's a departure of the rest of your visual style, which is why it stood out to me and it seems a little bit odd. This also means that her hair back here is a lot more readable than it was before. Another thing you could do to make that hair a bit more readable is run a slight highlight along those edges so it's more consistent with the rest of the hair. Also, it's very difficult to see this outer edge of the palm. Considering her hand is going upwards against that bright light, there's almost no reason for there to be deep shadow over there, so just put in your bright highlights over there. Wrong one again. Come on. Find me. There we go. Yeah, so I would have run your highlights along here too, just because it's so bright up there. To show that, you know, her hand is actually in that, and then you could take this shadow color and fill it in for where the beam is not hitting. Just like that. Also, it's a very bright highlight. Do not fear your highlights. Never fear your highlights. If you're scared of your highlights, just make them on a separate layer. Is that a rock texture? Apparently we're highlighting with a rock texture. Yeah, do not be afraid of your highlights. If you have such an intense highlight, let it live. Let it do what it wants to do. Just put it in and let it be what it wants to be. Because this high contrast, like this high contrast art kind of thing, it's super duper pretty, and once you get a hang of it, it's really easy to do. Where's an in-between tone? I think that's a good in-between tone, yeah. Yeah, so don't be afraid of your highlights. Because now, look how much it pops. You got your shadows, and then bam, just like that. In fact, we can grab some of this, and we can put it on her neck down here too, and then fade it out. Suddenly, it looks a lot more like super bright highlights. See that? Do not fear your highlights. This is a pretty piece though, and I like it a lot. What is next? Okay, this one, oh, let me turn this off. This one is beautiful. It looks like, is this supposed to be, Subnautica? It looks like Subnautica. Yeah, there we go. My critique stuff was sitting on top of it. You have beautiful colors going. Even though this is a pink, outside of this tiny bit of blush, these are all cool-toned colors. And some people might be like, what? That's a pink. How can it be a cool-tone pink? Cool-tone pink means you add a little bit more blue to it. Warm-tone pink means it has more yellow. That's basically the difference between cool tones and warm tones. It's either adding blue or yellow. This is a super nice piece. You're kind of losing her leg right over here because it's the very dark blue against the dark blue of the ocean. Things up here have nice bright contrast, and since you made this the most intense pink, the fish over here do not take away, which is good. Yeah, just clear up these legs, make sure that they're readable, and this is honestly a good piece. I don't have much to say about it. This is a good one. Good job! And finally, this cute, adorable piece of art. I hate to say, but again, this is just not something I can say too much about because it's really well done. Since her character, let's pop it into black and white for a moment. These tones, or this level of light, is very similar in here to the background right now, at least. If you lighten the background a bit, she would have been more visible. Her silhouette would have been more visible. Let me just show you. Adjustments, black and white. That's interesting. It doesn't read the way I was seeing. Okay, yeah. See how dark this is against the light background? That works. That's readable. But this gray tone in here is very similar to this gray tone over here. So you're kind of losing her against this background, especially since when we put the color back in, this is a nice warm red, this is a nice warm red. So all I maybe either had a slightly brighter highlight over here, or darken this, give her a thicker outline, just something to push her away, like give this character a little bit more pop from her environment. But I love the style. It's very cute. This is almost, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of Studio Ghibli, but it's super cute. Considering how smooth and nicely detailed this is, I would have liked you to make the this moon or sun or whatever it is a bit rounder and smoother and you know, more finished, I guess. Because down here, like, the background is well finished. This cat is super cute. You got a great style going here. Like, this is all very nice and well finished. And then just having the not even perfectly circular light source up here makes it, you know, it kind of stands out the most just because it's not as well finished as the rest of the picture. But yeah, you have a very strong set of 3 pictures. These are beautiful. Amazing. Mwah, chef's kiss. And that is the Empress T, if you want to find them. Last person to fall under my gavel of artistic judgment. This is Worm Prints, and this actually might be one of the strongest pieces. This is a really good image. Sorry, I don't know if anybody's disturbed when people crack their knuckles. I didn't even think about that. Ava is asking, what app do you suggest using to draw? Photoshop and Procreate are the most common ones I know. Procreate is the best if you have $10 and an iPad. Ibis Paint is an extremely good alternative. It still has a lot of power. So is Metabang. Metabang and Ibis Paint are both very, very good. Somebody's been recommending Krita or Krita Studios to me. I need to try that one out. And if you have a giant gob of money and a big old computer that can handle it, Photoshop is also quite good. Photoshop is like the granddaddy, has immense amounts of power. It's more used for editing though. Like I can literally I can paint on 3D objects in Photoshop and run simulations. It's ridiculous. I can make normal maps. Like, check this out. Watch this. Let's rasterize this. Because I'm a 3D artist, so I do this as a job. Check this out. Video, stylize, sharpen. It's somewhere in here. Lighting, pixelate. Oh, 3D. Generate normal map. Come on, you. I know you can do it. Look at that. We just made a 3D normal map in Photoshop from a character. And if you put this on a cube, that would pop out. So Photoshop is extremely powerful. But if you just want to draw, don't get it. If you just want to draw, Procreate, Metabang, Ibis Paint, Krita, Fire Alpaca is pretty good too from what I hear. There's so many other alternatives. Photoshop is for a professional who's banging out projects and needs very high power and flexibility. I use it to paint, but that's only because I need it for other work too, like my 3D work and photo editing and book covers. So if you want a drawing program and you have a little bit of money, Procreate. If you don't have money, Ibis Paint or Metabang. They're all really good. There's so many good alternatives actually. There's such a large market that's developing. Okay, I'm gonna go judge Worm Prince's drawing. Oh, it's raining again. It's gonna be raining like this, and then it's gonna be dropping to like 10 degrees. So we're just gonna have a giant sheet of ice all over Pittsburgh. Where'd my brush go? There's my brush. Okay. There is a ton of stuff I really like about this picture. First of all, your posing, your anatomy, your drawing style are just mwah. This is a very well done picture. In fact, this is one of those pictures that I can't judge too much because it's so well done. Your style of lighting, the way you handle things, even your chromatic aberration. Like this slight outline here works excellently. You didn't overdo it. You got a toned down olive green skin tone against a bright magenta, which are, you know, opposites on the color wheel. So you have your complementaries going. My one thing might be that you have too much intensity. Like, what part of the character do you want to draw people's eyes to the most? Is it the face? Is it the hips? Because the two areas of your character that are drawing the most attention right now, if everybody who's watching, close your eyes for a few seconds. Let's just close your eyes. Let's count to like 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then don't open them yet. When I tell you to open your eyes, look at the character and tell me in the comments section, what two areas immediately drew your attention on this character? Okay, open your eyes now. What two areas did your eyes immediately jump to on this character as soon as you opened your eyes? I'll give you like a few seconds to talk in the comments, because I know which two areas are like made me go boink like that. I'm getting hoarse from talking. Okay, the one thing that is completely consistent through everybody's comments, if you're watching this later, Worm Prince, everybody is saying the skirt. Do you know why it's the skirt though? I mean, you're really good, so you probably do, but I'm talking more for the audience. It's because this has one of the highest intensity of concentrations, but also you have your brightest tone right against your darkest tone. So you have the highest amount of contrast right in the skirt over here, which means that it draws people's eyes immediately. And that can be a little bit of a pity because you have some really good, the hair is the highest intensity of color also, and it's next to, you have your bright pink right against your olive green, but it doesn't have the highest amount of physical contrast. If you had taken this, for instance, if you had taken this color, put more green into it and really popped it, like maybe like that, just like a little quick outline along the edges, and then taken this color and put it, come on you, work with me, Alt. Oh, I'm using the wrong brush. I keep using the wrong brush over and over again. Photoshop is doing a hissy fit with me today. Yeah, and then maybe put some of that into the shadow. Like, I know your shadow color is pretty consistent here, but if you had worked with your colors and put a higher amount of color contrast over there, and then come on, baby. And then put, you know, a higher amount of contrast over here. I'm gonna repaint certain parts right over here, because I can see where your light source is. The light source isn't the problem, it's where you've placed your highest points of contrast. And then maybe we can echo that a little bit in certain areas over here. I don't want to completely overpaint everything you have. And now I did that, I'm going to take this entire skirt area, I'm going to take my brush, and I'm going to tone this down. And let's just put that on some sort of overlay. I don't want to lose your highlights, so we'll keep those there. So now there's a lot more even contrast going through the entire thing. Not even contrast, there's a lot more even focal point. I don't think I quite successfully drove the focal point to the face over here. It does have the highest amount of color contrast, these two complementary sitting right against each other. But essentially what's happening with your piece is that it's arguing all the different parts, even though it's drawn extremely well and you have a very beautiful way of rendering, and your anatomy and your, you know, the sauciness of the character are super duper good. You're kind of, it's arguing for attention in all the different places. Like if we turn that off, it's definitely the highest point that everybody was looking at in the comments is the skirt because it's super duper bright. But if we tone down, let's just tone down the skirt. Now everything's more even toned, and now we can pop up the contrast on the face. So now we're starting to drive a bit more, you know, drive a bit more attention to the face. That's, you were asking what you should focus on. I'm saying that's what you should focus on. Try to decide where you want your focal point to be and really drive it. Because I don't know, maybe you did want your focal point to be the skirt. I can't, I'm not in your head. I'm just looking at your picture. So if you wanted your focal point to be the skirt, you did it. Congratulations. If you wanted it to be the face, you didn't quite succeed. You just tone down certain areas, increase contrast in the ones that you want people to bounce to first. But this is a very, very strong piece. I like what you did. The chromatic aberration down here is a good touch, and it matches the pink and green tones that you have everywhere else, but it is also mildly distracting, especially because the shadow is then purple and orange. So maybe fewer special effects in certain areas. Again, that's your style though, so I can't really tell you what to do, but more attention to the places you want to draw attention to, and less special effects until you can handle them to drive exactly what point you want to drive. But still, a very lovely piece. You have really good line control. This is admirable line control.
I couldn't hear what you said.
Shh. Siri wanted in on the critique. Okay. So that was the group. That was the group of arts that we had in Discord sitting and festering for literally weeks. I'm glad I got to go over it. I'm gonna @ everybody and tell them that their critiques are up. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Right now, I'm still trying to work through the rest of the critiques in my email. If you're part of the Discord, you can drop, your new art in the Discord. Not yet, because I need to tell these people that their art is has been critiqued. But yeah, thank you for everybody who's been submitting. I hope that everybody who's been watching right now was able to learn by watching the critiques of other people's stuff. This was a great body of work. Lots of different people did good stuff. And yeah. Okay, my voice is going bad and I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm gonna go get dinner. And as per usual, everybody, make sure to drink your water. You saw me doing it through the entire thing. I'm being a good example. Get your sleep, something I don't do. I should take my own advice. Believe in yourself, because you can do it and you can achieve what you want to if you just try hard enough and practice and practice. It can take time sometimes, trust me, I know, but you will eventually get there. And chase your dreams. I will see you guys tomorrow for Tutorial Tuesday. Bye-bye.